Mental health care has been traditionally oriented for health benefits of adults and parents, without considering the teens or the youths in our homes. Most mental disorders have their peak of incidence during transition from childhood to adulthood. At this critical period, most of the teens' mental health needs are largely unmet. This is the mental chain.
Mental health is a state of not only physical, social, but also mental well-being of a human being. And I can actually say that it's not the absence of disease. Yeah, it's a general state of well-being. And there's got to be that noting that it's not the absence of disease. You know, like we have always viewed health from a traditional background. So it includes emotional, psychological, and social well-being of a human being. Is the totality of health, as it were, or rather as we should view. And therefore, when you look at a healthy person or a person who is mentally healthy, you look at a person who has got a holistic sense of health in the way they think, in the way they feel, and in the way they act.
Mental health. This is anything that ranges from, depression, anxiety, na yani unaona ile situation unahisingi nikaa hujui venye unahisi. You see the phrase sijui niko aje, niko tu, that kind of state. It's also a call for concern for mental health. Yani you just feel you're probably not yourself. And there are a lot of things in mind, from you're stressing from work, school, relationship, all that. This can be anything to do with mental health. But mainly people focus on suicide, depression, a lot of anxiety, na vitu kama hizo, traumatic events, PTSD, and there are things and occurrences that can cause mental health. Si ati kuna mtu alisema ni mtu kuchizi, but it's una chizi kiplani, but si ati ni ile that you'll be walking around ukiokota takataka. It's just something that is making your mind a bit overcrowded than the basic thoughts of utakula nini, vitu kama hizo.
The base of our mental state is largely influenced by our environment at home. Ironically, some of our mental illness are caused by our caregivers subconsciously through their actions and words. But how many parents notice that they might be the cause of our mental suffering?
At home, yes, I experienced this at home. I guess it was back in 2019. There was a lot of things happening during the time. So I was home. I started acting, dull, because I'm a vibrant man, as you can see. I'm a vibrant person. I started being dull. I wasn't talking to people. My creative process was hindered because I write. By the way, go check out We Have Lemon. We care because you matter. Then my mom to be precise, noticed. So we got to talking and all that, and I went to a therapist where after 30 days of concrete therapy, I was able to come out of what I was
at home. Yes. Because I think home do you eat more. Not because of anything. It's the pressure of society. How growing up, unajua tunazeeka, lakini that's something we don't say out loud. But mara nyingi ni ile you find yourself in a situation where maybe your relatives are doing far better than you in comparison. As much as it's not good to compare, our parents kind of do that, but hata kama labda hata isema directly, ni ile atakwambia unajua nani aliendanga sijui yako wapi, sijui yako where. And we find ourselves in a place where you're asking yourself, mzee, kwani hakuna kitu nafanya in this life or something. But I think it's small things like those ones that build up to something more bigger than we expected. Unajikuta maybe you are a student and you're shule, maybe they're striking, lecturers are up and about, and the threats of school, so maybe your parents haven't paid their fee as much as it's their problem, niwe unaafektiwa. Those small things compile themselves into one major thing that keeps you. It starts with anxiety, then leads to depression. So the depression now hits. So yes, I think for me, yes, I experienced depression when I was home. And on few occasions, I'll find my mother, to be specific, and you are noticing such scenarios where she'll be like, naona you're not okay, are you good, uko poa, nini. But sometimes she may not notice it completely because pia yeye ametoka job, so she's also tired. So at that point, yani ni ile tuko, we are both like operating too as things are normal. Mtu amekuuliza uko aje, unamwambia tu uko poa, because that's the natural response. But maybe ushamuona amechoka, and unaona ukianza kumpea mastori zako nini mingi na labda hata leo unaona tu haina haja. So I think at a point some mothers are intuitive. Maybe akikuangalia for a long time, maybe hakuoni as the vibrant person you are, or in a scenario where there was something that caused something else, that maybe ako like, okay, are you okay? For my dad, not really. If he does, hajainiuliza like directly like kuna shida mahali. Most of the time it's just done.
Our mental state at home has been largely ignored over the time, and mental health was associated with adults and parents. With diversity and the changing nature of the world, incidents of mental disturbance have been witnessed in teenagers.
Generally, because of the same changes that I've talked about, life has become more economic in nature, and then the support structures have also changed because of the economics, which have made many parents to relocate to the cities and away from their primary support care. So as a result, many younger children are becoming exposed because of the lack of supportive structures. And according to statistics, we will discover that the ages of 11 to 17 are beginning to record serious mental health challenges. And particularly the medium age where these issues of mental health are beginning to emerge or manifest is the age of 14. And if you look at that naturally, you can say that that's the period when a child is supposed to be gaining autonomy. They're supposed to be moving away from the primary structures of support and becoming or learning independence. It's supposed to be an early age of entering into the teen age. But because of that lack of strong supportive care, these mental health issues are beginning to manifest at that age. But it can even go lower, again, depending on the social structure that is supporting the growth of that child.
Mental health is a controversial topic that is rarely discussed in our homes, and even in some homes, these discussions never really take place.
Mental health, it's a very important topic yenye inafaa kuwa discussed in families, whether guardian ama next of kin. Unajua, it's good mtu kukua very expressive, kujieleza that this is how I feel, I need help, so that ule mtu anakusikiza atakuwa very understandable, ajue what you are going through, ndio atafute vile anaweza kusaidia. Another thing, kuna families zenye unapata they don't have time to sit down waongee, ndio ujue maybe if your daughter or your son or your dad or your mom is going through something. So it's very important, how can I say, at this era, families will find a way of sitting down, we have these things like family gatherings, wakuona hizo family gatherings, at least they talk about everything, ndo mtu ajue kwenye mtoto wako ama where your husband is or your mom or what everyone is going through, ndo at least mtu atakuwa able kuji-express na najua if I talk to this person or if I talk to my brother or if I talk to my mom, if I talk to my dad, if I talk to my uncle, he or she is going to understand me and he or she is going to provide a solution over my mental health or whatever that I'm going through psychologically.
Parents nowadays are embracing discussions of about mental issues in families, and like in the past years where parents and their children were sworn enemies, that even you could not find a parent sitting down eating or maybe even sharing ideas with their children in the house. But today, because of civilization and exposure to different cultures outside there, and understanding that mental issue is something that is supposed to be discussed and something that affects people, many parents and children are finding time to sit together to discuss about this issue. So there is a shift in terms of families sitting together and discussing this, and it's a good trend because mental health is something that was forgotten for a very long time, and because of the setting of our families and the culture that were there before, that maybe parents and children are not supposed to discuss anything together. The children have no space in discussing with their parents because parents were viewed to be more superior, which of course they are, but the civilization that we have and the embracing of technology has given us that room as parents to listen to our children and know what they are going through.
I don't think that it's being discussed as much because in an African setting, you as a child, to be precise, a boy child, you are supposed to be the man 24/7 every time. You are supposed to show up when other people are not showing up. You're supposed to be there for other people, but nobody's there for you. And as society is being structured, the African man child is supposed to, like you are seen in words wanasema haufai kukua ati unaonyesha feelings as much. You have to be a man, you have to tough it out because, well, it's just you and you only.
Can I say no? Because authoritatively, no. One, because you remember I talked about the social structures that were very supportive. The social structures had key persons who led, in managing the young children who are growing up. Like particularly the grandparents, the uncles and the aunties, they played very key role. But with the dismantling of that social structure, the parents have become more prone to search for economic life. Okay? We have been thrown to look for basic needs, and therefore even to find time to talk about mental health is become problematic. And then secondly, most parents are ignorant. They think that children are supposed to just grow naturally, especially with the help of the caregivers whom we pay up. But the truth is that ignorance and the economic reasons are combining together to keep away parents from keeping a keen eye on their growing up children. And that's quite problematic in this country.
Some of these things, you don't put a timetable that at this age, I will discuss this with my children. No. Some of them come in form of questions.
Whenever you want to discuss it, most of our parents, and it's okay, they believe that, they believe mtu akitaka kujua is shetani amekuingia. Which, as much as it may be true, they don't want to get to the root of the problem, and it's fine. It's fine you want to include religion and they tell you to pray about it, which is fine. You deal with your own problems in your own ways. But the thing is, at this point, we are at a generation where our parents are so into religion to a point they'd rather mtu akiwa na shida, it's like talk to God about it, and it's okay and it's fine because I'm also prayerful and all that, but it gets to a point you really need to talk to someone when things are really bad, and not just talking to as per natural power. It's talking so that at least kuna kitu you're getting off you because we're in a generation where most of us keep ourselves, our emotions, our feelings, our frustrations all pent up into one. So at the end, it comes down to not talking about what is really, disturbing us, each and every one of us. So when we go home, like trying to talk to your parents and telling them about depression, they don't understand what you're trying to talk about. Like yes, they understand this depression because they also experience it. They just don't want to label it as that. So as I think as they tend to see it as a young person, why are you depressed? Like, especially kama unaishi home or something, so they're like, kwani nini umekosa, kuna chakula, uko na mahali ya kulala, hutafuti pesa, things like those ones. But they don't understand, especially with the coming of social media, everything else changed.
There are different types of mental disorders that manifest at early stages of adulthood, as highlighted by our psychologist.
The common mental health challenges that are manifesting in the teens in this nation, I would say that I would categorize them to 4 types of mental disorders. And the first one is, and the most common, is anxiety disorder. And anxiety disorder is a very big challenge because it manifests in worry. You'll find teens who are always worried, withdrawn, and they care so much about what is not there or what does not exist. You will see that these anxiety disorders can sometimes manifest in panic. Somebody panics and then they're even unable to control themselves and to talk. Or it can manifest in somebody being obsessed. They pick up a habit and they are obsessed with that habit and they are constantly manifesting that habit. Or this anxiety disorder can also manifest in stress disorder, or what I would call post-traumatic stress disorder. And this is particularly common for those people who have gone through stressful experiences with significant others in life. Secondly, we have the personality disorders, where it manifests in the way an individual has got a pattern of life that is very unhealthy, and this pattern of life manifests in the way they think and the way they function, because thoughts and functioning work together. The way you think tend to manifest in the way you act. So personality disorders show a disconnect in the thinking and in the way you act. Thirdly, we've got what we call the psychotic disorders, and this one can manifest in the way a young person tends to act out and live a life that is disconnected from reality. There is a disconnect. The major word there is a disconnect between how this person behaves and their reality, because they're trying to run away from their reality, which may be very harsh. So they tend to act it out, and therefore there is a disconnect between the real them and how they live their lives. And lastly, we have what we call eating disorders. And eating disorders may not be very common in this country yet, but it is catching up with us. And the eating disorders is related to image issues, because you see, during that age, we care so much about what we feel, we care about how we look, and the major influencer at this age is the social media and the peers. So if you begin to hear so much about the standards being thrown on you by the peers and the social media, then somebody can start hating how they look like, and then they run away, they take a flight from their reality and start eating, and food becomes a solace to them. And so you'll find them eating, either eating too much or not eating at all because they want to keep a certain figure, or sometimes they can even eat and vomit it out. So it's like everything around their lives is on the power of food.
Professionals have confirmed that the type of parenting a parent adopts has a great influence on how we develop and grow mentally.
You know, nowadays, if you instill so much fear in a child, they tend to take action into their own hands, and this action results into suicidal thinking and those depression. So I have made myself as free as possible with my children, where we can talk about anything at any given point. When they when they feel that someone has issues with them, or they have issues with someone, they are able to tell me. Why? Because 90% of our time we spend at work and they are at school. So mostly wataingia kwa nyumba mbele yako and they will find who that house help there. Maybe the house girl is mistreating them and things like that. Things like those, as a parent, I should be able to see a difference. So I would want to know what has happened during the day. So when I get home, of course, when they wake up in the morning, I'm always waking up with them, whether there's a house help or not. I want to see how are they preparing themselves, how are they doing things. That is the time I get to spend with my children, maybe. And then during the evening, when they come home and do their homework, I make sure I am there. So we do the homework and we talk about what has happened in school. Right now we have CBC, where you as a parent has to be so much involved. So utashtukia umeitishwa kitu fulani, and when you spend most of your time at work, utafika kwa nyumba late, you won't even be able to buy something yenye umeitishwa shule. So I have to be home unless there's something work imeshikana. Is when I call home and ask, kuna kitu mtu ameitishwa kutoka shule, so that I know what to do, you know. So we get together and talk. When we have taken our dinner, we sit down and eat and relax, just laugh. How was school? Mom, how was work? I ask them so many things and they tell me. That is how I know how to create time to talk to them and build a healthy relationship with them. And then when they close school, I make sure I get leave if I don't have much work to do, because nowadays they've been closing school for a week, 2 weeks, so you get that you don't have time with them. So I try as much as possible to be at home on weekends. We go to church together, and then, you know, church teaches children a lot of things. So me plus church, me as a parent plus church, when we come together, that child will be good to go.
Relationship ilikuwa cliche, basic African house, where dad alikuwa akikuja, mnajua it's mbio mpaka ndani ya nyumba. Mom unajua tu hapo hivyo ndio caregiver. Dad ilikuwa tuseme almost strictly professional. Tuna interact two time ya mtihani, results, hivyo, you know, small issues, but it was just the cliche African house nye. Dad alikuwa akipita tu hivi, like hata sounds mpaka ndani ya nyumba.
There is a strong correlation between the type of parenting that we adopt and the mental health of our children. And the type of parenting also that we adopt manifests in our mental health as parents. If a parent is healthy and they can start, you know, modeling out good mental health to their children from the time when they are young. And this is done in the way you behave when you're around them. It is done in the way you talk to them. You know, some parents talk down on their children. They play authority over their children. But children are supposed to be taught through an open communication system. You know, when they are young, they're not dumb. They're not idiots. They can actually learn how you talk to them. You know, whether you're manifesting a healthy person or role modeling out a healthy person, or you're actually being aggressive on them. So I think open communication is a very important thing, and to learn that children can learn from when they are very young, to understand that you're communicating in a healthy way, or you are actually domineering over them. And I think most parents tend to play the authority figure instead of playing the friend. And when we learn to play the friend to these children from even when they are young, they feel a sense of security. And that's how they are going to open up to you forever, even when they are old. Because you have developed a sense of security and met their basic need of feeling secure before you as a parent.